Low quality fans of a high quality Bruins team and getting higher because the Bruins were part of a draft. That's right. The Bruins were involved in the first round because, as many of you know and has been covered ad nauseum in previous videos and live streams, Linus Ullmark is no longer a Boston Bruin. It's sad. It is sad. It's a bummer. We like Ullmark, but it happened. This video is not about that trade. It's not about that trade. There is a trade that we're going to talk about in this video, and I'm actually going to start this video by saying like, comment, subscribe. Nailed it. And then I'm going to say, can we calm down a little bit? A little bit? There are people, and if you're one of these people, I'm talking to you. The offseason's not a bust. The Bruins don't suck all of a sudden. It's not over. It's not done. It's not even free agency time yet. We're not even to when free agents are allowed to be signed yet. And there are people who are acting like it's the offseason. The offseason's over. And we're going into next year, and the Bruins screwed it all up. I saw people saying this was supposed to be an easy offseason for Sweeney, and he's screwing it all up. First of all, this is not an easy offseason for Sweeney or for the Bruins. This is anything but. Having the money doesn't mean it's easy. Because I don't know if you looked at the free agency class. There's not like excellent options. And there's certainly not all of them going, I would love to play for the Boston Bruins. So if we could take a little back step there. Just a little back step. But what I'd really like to talk about calming down about is the Bruins made a trade today. They made a trade today in the fourth round. The trade was the Minnesota Wild send us Vinny Lettieri and the 110th overall pick for Jacob Lauko and the 122nd overall pick. People are treating that trade like it was Lauko for Lettieri. It wasn't, because that would be a weird trade. Because Lauko is better than Lettieri. I'm agreeing with you. I'm with you, man. Like, I'm with you. The trade was like that because we had to give up the better current piece so we could get the better pick. Because the Bruins identified a player that they thought was being undervalued in the draft, was falling farther than expected, and they wanted to go get him. And we're going to talk about Groenewold. I love that. You identified a guy that you really like, and you moved an expendable piece that fans loved. I get the love for Lauko. High energy, you would hear his name a lot. Totally get it. We have, right now, like 11 guys competing for bottom 6 minutes currently. Lauko's expendable in the current situation. He just is. And he's valued by Minnesota. He's valued by a few teams. Off he goes. I don't think Lauko had enough value that you would move into like the second round with him or anything like that. But the amount of people who treated this trade, like it was a better player for a worse player, and that was all the details, is silly. It's silly. I understand if you were initially confused about it and it wasn't something that just immediately clicked with you. Totally get that. It's the people that are talking about how Don Sweeney sucks and this is just another failure of his and acting like this is a huge blemish on his record. And if that's your opinion about Sweeney, fine. This can't be the trade that proves that. That's not. It can't be this one. This is a nothing trade. You moved up 12 spots because you wanted to get the player there. I just think that everyone's a bit of a live nerve right now, and they're finding things to react to such a level. And I'm not making this up. There are people who have legitimately said on social media, throughout all the social medias, that Sweeney screwed up the whole offseason. It's over. It's just a mess, and he's going to drive this team into the ground. And you're not even giving him a chance for this year. Again, if you dislike him, you dislike him. But let's all take a second, digest, and talk about some pretty exciting prospects that we have now. There's a couple that I'm pretty excited about. I'm looking forward to tracking them along their path. And the first one we're going to talk about is one that I admittedly was hoping we weren't going to take because Connolly fell. He fell all the way to, I want to say 19 or maybe 21. Vegas took him. Just really high talent guy, Trevor Connolly. Bummer. We didn't get him. Didn't get a chance to get him. Didn't have a lot of assets to trade up in the first round. And then Solberg is right there. We need more defensive prospects. We really do. The Bruins don't have a lot in the pipeline that they're thinking are going to be high-value guys. And Solberg was right there. In Colorado, I didn't think they were going to take him at 24. Of course, they traded out of that pick. But the pick before that, at 23, here comes Anaheim. They trade into that slot, and they take him, which I actually thought was real smart. I think there's a real player there. Bummer. But no, we end up getting Dean Letourneau. I like it, first of all. I like the project piece. The Bruins did something that I had previously said I really wanted to see, which is take a high-risk, high-reward guy. You're picking 25th. You're not picking 5th. You don't have a guarantee anywhere in this. You bet on the talent. So who is Dean Letourneau? Well, he's a 6'7" right shot center, 18 years old, 215 pounds. He's a big boy. High risk, high reward. Because he played in the U18 AAA League, the Prep League, last year and had 61 goals, 66 assists for 127 points in 56 games played. Those numbers mean next to nothing because the competition isn't up to snuff with that man. That league is just not a highly competitive league, although they've talked about St. Andrews being one of the second or third best prep schools for preparing athletes for the next level, hockey athletes for the next level. So some nice things were said about St. Andrews. You like to see that. But this kid has a ton of tools, mostly physical. So let's do a little pros and cons. We're going to do the deepest dive on him. We're not going to do a pros and cons with all of them, but we're going to do it with him. First pro, he's huge. This is the first thing you're going to hear. Everyone's going to compare him to Tage Thompson. I don't think he's that similar to Tage Thompson outside of his size, but there are some similarities. 6'7", 215. He is a man. He is big. And he's only going to get stronger. I don't think he's going to get much bigger than that. He might hit the 230s, but he's just going to get stronger. He's expected to play at BC next year. Now, con, following his size, he's not physically aggressive. He's also a center. If you said that about a defenseman at that size, I understand everyone's like, well, we wish Carlo was more aggressive, you know? He's not physically aggressive. He uses his size well, but he's not going to use his size to wreak havoc like you may expect someone of his stature to. Another pro. For his size, I feel like that's an important part of this sentence, he's a very good skater and puck handler. That doesn't mean he's elite in those categories, but for his size, he moves really well, like surprisingly well. And doesn't allow some of the inefficiencies that most players his size have come into their game. He just doesn't allow it. Because they're big, they look awkward, they look like they struggle with certain movements, certain agilities. His acceleration, deceptively good. His agility allows him to keep his balance in tougher situations. Just overall, he's a surprisingly fluid mover for a guy who is massive. It's a really important trait, I think. Because if you're going to struggle somewhere with that size and movement's going to be your struggle, feels like the NHL is right out, right? A con going along with that. Not being able to directly compare his movement to better competition on the ice because of the league he was in. This feels like a weird con that shouldn't really be a knock against him, more of a knock against the pick, if that makes sense. But he was playing against people that really just weren't expected to hit the next level, right? Or be highly touted in the next level. So some of that movement might be overstated. That being said, scouts seem fairly confident that even with dealing with higher speed, he's going to be able to use that agility and balance well. And with how clean his footwork is, there's not a lot of doubt that it's going to translate. Another pro, a deceptive shot. When you're that big and you have that kind of length and reach, it allows you to create shots that others simply can't. To me, it appears that Dean has recognized that. He can outreach opponents. He can create those angles and shots that he wants. I wouldn't say that he has a quick release, but I would say it's deceptive, it's hard, and I mean, he's got some real accuracy. He can find the back of the net. Con, and this is actually one of your biggest ones with him. There are some concerns that he's too focused on a straight line approach offensively, meaning he sees what he wants to do and he attacks it directly. At an NHL level or even collegiate level, you're going to expect defensemen who have really strong footwork and physicality to attack him directly, to know that they can get up to him and not worry about him going around them because they trust their footwork, their foot speed. I'm not sure how he's going to be able to develop past that. It's going to be one of his largest hurdles, in my opinion, because if he's a straight line attacker, a downhill attacker, however you really want to say it, he's trying to aim for one thing. Defensemen will read this at a higher level, and they'll get in the way. He's going to have to be able to develop a way to either create more separation beyond just using his reach, or make a guy miss. He's got decent hands. He does. His puck control and movement is good. Not great, but good. I would consider this his biggest hurdle in becoming an impact NHL player through his development. There's plenty of stuff he's got to work on, but this one's going to be a big one for him. Last pro, I just mentioned his hands are good. Not great. He's not an elite puck handler, but his vision, play recognition, puck protection, it's there. He's got that control. He has a strong ability to get his teammates involved offensively. He can circle the zone. With his movement, with his reach, there's a lot to like about his control of the offensive zone. Again, not elite in that handling through defensemen, making them miss, shifting their weight side to side, but he is going to be able to keep you off of him using his body and find looks for his teammates. A con, and most are going to hate this, there are concerns that he can be a bit of a drifter. When the play isn't going through him, he can take his foot off the gas, become a bit of a puck watcher. And that hurts him in transition defense. That hurts him when he's kind of standing still in the offensive zone. That can hurt him in the defensive zone if he's not picking up his assignments because he's just kind of watching. So there's a question about his motor. That is something that the draft typically isn't going to point out. Everyone's a high motor guy to the commentators, but every report on him has a little bit of like, does he have a high enough motor to continue his upward projection? That being said, there is at least a half glass full outlook on this, that his competition at the last level was next to nothing. Maybe he just needs to be challenged a bit. It's a bit of a stretch, but as a way to look at it in a positive lens, which we're all about, right? Positivity. So, all in all, I'll give the grade of the draft pick itself, I'll give it a B. He's not some crazy top 10 talent that fell all the way to 25. And again, drafts are a crapshoot, but you know what I mean. But he's a guy that was projected to go around there. It's a need for the team. It's a bit of a project piece, but the top of his ceiling is a top line center. Of course, the bottom, the floor, AHL lifer, maybe fourth line guy, but he's not really that physical. So you wonder, is it middle six, top six, or bust? There's some questions there. I'm really good with this kind of high risk, high reward outlook because at this point in the organization, you cannot afford to take the high floor, low ceiling guys that's almost a guaranteed third or fourth line forward. No, you have to take a swing at this draft position because your future in the organization right now is very much walking a tightrope. The odds of this guy becoming a top-line center aren't above 50%, but there's a chance there. You have plenty of prospects who grade out to be bottom six guys. You need to find some raw talent that might be able to take the next step. I really like this pick. I do. Was he my first pick? No. Those guys, the first, second, or third choices that I wanted, none of them made it to us, right? He's one of the better ones I thought was still available. I'm pretty happy about it. I know some people are going to talk about Greentree pretty much right away because he was picked right after. Greentree's biggest knock on him is his skating ability. If there is a trait that I don't like betting on, it's their skating ability suddenly becoming NHL level. That's just a personal thing. Greentree is great in a lot of other areas. Can he get himself into a position to actually shoot, to actually bury the puck? Creative, has the vision. Can he get there? I'm not saying Greentree is not going to be great, but given the knocks on each player, I'd actually rather go with Dean, personally. Next pick for us was 110. This was the Lauko trade one. For Elliot Groenewold. He is a 6'2", left shot defensive defenseman, 18 years old. Shut down presence, but made for the modern game. He's not afraid of using his size, wins net front battles, can rip a puck off the boards, but wouldn't consider him overly physical. This feels like a very Bruins-esque type of guy, where, oddly enough, not somebody who's going to absolutely murder the opposition physically, but is going to use that size to win the important battles and still get the puck where it needs to go. He's an excellent, opportunistic defender, uses a strong hockey sense to time out opposition's plays and then jump the line as soon as he gets a chance. Disrupts plays really well. He accurately intercepts pucks and gets the puck moving forward quickly. He has a real intelligence when it comes to defending. He seems to communicate well with his line mates. He allows everyone to do their assignments without breaking down the defensive structure. There's a lot to like about a guy who feels kind of quarterback-esque of the defensive unit. Just really understands how the game is supposed to flow when he's on the ice. There's a lot to like about him intellectually and defensively. He has puck talent. He can make a good pass. He can see the ice well. That being said, if he's going to be an impact NHL player, he's really going to have to improve his skating and his first touch, because there seems to be a little bit of disagreement about his skating, which is fine. We're all looking at these guys and through different lenses and whatnot, but he's an okay skater. I don't think he's an NHL-ready skater. Most of these guys aren't at this level, but there seems to be some debate about whether he ever will be. The first touch kind of gets me because he can hesitate in the defensive zone. A forecheck can kind of eat him alive if he's not feeling confident and getting that puck up quickly. And that is one of his bigger weaknesses, is he's going to have a bad defensive turnover every now and again. It's something that really needs to get ironed out of his game. Not a lot to get excited about in the offensive zone either. He's not afraid to jump up and give himself a look. He'll blast it from the blue line, make somebody pay the price to block it. But he's a defensive defenseman, and those guys have their value. End of the day, he was considered a third-round talent. The Bruins traded up to get him, and I feel really confident in their ability to pick guys out like this. So I feel good about this pick. Another kind of B pick. At number 154, left shot center, 6'3", 192 pounds, 17-year-old Jonathan Morel. 25 goals, 32 assists in 50 games played in the OJHL. 12 goals, 9 assists in 11 playoff games that year. 200-foot center. Plays all three zones. Plays power play. Plays penalty kill. Smart vision. Excellent puck control. Seems to understand the game well. Uses his size to disrupt opposition in any facet of the game. Is not afraid of mixing it up physically. This is a classic. Has a lot of tools. But will it come together and translate to the next level kind of guy? I think he'd be graded highly in his shot accuracy, his playmaking, his willingness to be physical and aggressive. But more than anything, the Bruins are betting on skating ability here. And I love a gamble on a good skater. He's an excellent skater, fast as hell. That's a lot of stuff being complimented for a fifth rounder. There's a lot of things there. You go fifth round, and he can have some accuracy with a shot. He can beat guys with his speed. Seems like he should have gone, way farther up. And hey, there's a lot of reports saying that he was considered a top 100 talent in the 90s, but still top 100 to go 154. There are others who did not have him on the board at all. There is probably the biggest question mark about this guy, right? There's plenty to work on. But one of the biggest question marks is he dedicated enough to keep advancing? The reports are all pointing out, every single report points out one thing. He can be a bit of a Houdini, disappearing for large stretches of games, missing defensive assignments, not pursuing plays until the end, etc., etc. How fast, how hard is his motor running? Not the best thing to hear. We're betting on talent. We're betting on skating speed. At his current level, I'd say if he puts the work in, becomes a bit more focused on the details, his ceiling may be as high as a middle six center. Third line probably, but middle six, that might be his ceiling. It also could be a low of he's not even sniffing the NHL. That's a 5th round pick. That's how 5th round picks are supposed to work. I really love finding a guy with this kind of skating ability at this spot in the draft. You can bet on that and see how it goes from there. And he's big. Hell yeah. So you'll see if he can hit that next gear with his motor and then start raising his recognition of plays on the ice, kind of thinking the game at a little bit of a faster speed, things of that nature. But there's certainly some hesitation with that motor. We'll see how that goes. Betting on skating, though, not a bad bet to make. The last pick for the Boston Bruins in the 2024 draft was 186th overall, 18-year-old Loke Johansson, 6'3", 215 pounds, left shot defensive defenseman. He is big. He's physical. He's big. He also is physical. But the thing that the Bruins like the most about this 6th rounder is that he is big and he is physical. This is a Kostadinsky pick, just like last year. 2 years ago? Shoot, I'm getting my years mixed up. Either way, guy doesn't really have it anywhere. Skating, play recognition, puck movement, literally any offensive attributes. He's a project piece. That's what a 6th rounder is. But do not forget, he is big and physical. So, that's your 6th rounder. What do you want from this pick? Come on, big, physical. Take it or leave it. You'll take it because you're a Bruins fan and you're going to root for that guy. Because why not? Why not have some positivity? Especially about a guy who's big and physical. Go Bees. Go Bees! And of course, we have to say a big old thank you to the high-quality inspectors who happen to all be 10 out of 10s. Not sure if you guys knew that. We've got our top line tier inspectors, GD Viperworks, Tiffany Hagel, Chris and Erica, Len Cruz, Moonlighter TV, The Bugman, Brock Nope, Han Slomo, Coach D, The Atomic Lizard, Bradley Johnson, Aaron Adams, Just Aaron, Darren Woodbury, Brett Arney, Pincent, and Nick Zatrullo. Absolute studs. 10 out of 10. I'm not kidding. Every single one of them. And, of course, there's the highest of high-quality inspectors. The all-star tier. 12 out of 10s. Can you believe it? So hot. We've got the Mad Marcus, Adrian Winter, Tyler McCourt, Tupton D. Tashi, John Kirk, Jacob Pratt, Heil E. Coyote, Michael DePaulo, Wolf Warrior, Vinny, Adam Ella, Bruin Smash, Joel, Abraxion, D.A. Kingery, The Only Newts, A Tasty Snack, Doots42, and Jeremy. You guys are stallions. You're all legends, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you and your help with keeping this channel going. Thank you, and go Bees.